Okay, hi everyone. This is Marcus here from Societe Generale. I think we have started the webinar. Let's just give another minute or two, just for some of those people who have just finished their dinner and are streaming in before we start. All right, thanks. Okay, hi, good evening everyone. Time now is 8 p.m. So for those who are in already, I'd like to start promptly. So let's kick off this session today. Just very quick introduction. My name is Marcus. I am from Societe Generale, and we are the product issuer of this product that you've heard of called Daily Leverage Certificates, and for short, it's called DLC. So in today's short 1 hour session, I'll try to cover as much as possible for you to be able to understand what these DLCs are, how does it work, and also how can you use it to trade both bull and bear markets, right? The beauty of DLCs is basically you can have a leverage exposure, but also be able to trade, going long or going short, depending on whether you have a bearish or bullish view of the market, to capitalize on both uptrends and downtrends. And also be able to get exposure to a wide range of underlyings across the Singapore and Hong Kong market. All right, so a very quick introduction first on what the DLCs are. The DLCs, daily leverage certificates, are listed and traded on SGX securities market. Okay, so you can access it through your regular brokerage account. So you can trade it through your POEMS trading account, securities account. The same way that you trade your DBS shares or your UOB shares, you will be able to see the same DLC instruments on your trading platform. All right, so you don't have to open a separate account, etc. And this is not a margin product per se. So you don't have to open a separate account. It is through your regular stock brokerage account that you can trade these DLCs. You just need to look into your POEMS account. You look for example, if you want to trade DBS, right? You just look for DBS 5 times long. You should be able to see the DBS DLCs there, or you can search using the stock code as well, which I'll share later. All right, so these DLCs are, in the name itself, it gives you the fixed daily leverage of the underlying asset performance. All right, so it gives you 5 times or 7 times exposure to the underlying stock or underlying index performance. And then there is a long and a short DLC for you to capitalize on both a bull market or a bearish market. All right, and it's traded on SGX like a stock. We as Societe Generale, as a product issuer of this DLC, we are also the designated market maker. So we are there to provide liquidity throughout the day for you to buy and sell these DLCs. All right, so we have a wide range of underlying, as I mentioned just now. This product is 5 years old. We've just turned 5 this year. So we have come a long way. Over the last 5 years, we've expanded the shelf from the initial batch of 10 DLCs to now over 200 DLCs. All right, we have a wide range of Hong Kong and Singapore underlyings over here. You can see that we have the key Asian indices like Hang Seng Index, Hang Seng China Enterprises Index, Hang Seng Tech Index, and so even the MSCI Singapore Index, right? And we're also looking at STI DLCs as well. But also there's a wide range of stocks for you to choose from. Hong Kong side, the big tech names, China tech giants, you name it, there are the Tencent, your Alibaba, Meituan, your Kuaishou, etc. As well as some of the old economy stocks, maybe like a China Merchant Bank, China Construction Bank, Ping An, and China Mobile, HSBC. So a wide range of them, more than 48, I believe, of the underlying stocks that you can gain both long and short exposure to. But also on the Singapore side, again, the key blue chip stocks that you have, the STI constituent stocks, DBS, OCBC, Roma, CapitaLand, all these stocks are also available. We have DLCs on them, both long and short, 5 times long and 5 times short DLCs on them. All right, so quite a lot to choose from. And also recently, we just expanded into a new market. So we launched DLCs on US indices. The first one out with the S&P 500 index. So we have both 5 times long and short DLCs on the S&P 500 index. All right, it's listed on SGX securities market. And it's traded in Singapore dollars. All right. So the key unique feature about this is that you can gain exposure to the US markets, S&P 500 index, or in the near future at Nasdaq 100 index. During Asian hours, right? You can gain exposure to this during Asian hours, so as to get ahead. You can get in ahead of the US market open. Sometimes the news flow during Asian hours can be quite big and have quite big impact on the US indices. So it's also good for you to get in. But of course, you will not be able to trade this during the US market hours. All right. So it's only traded during SGX market hours. But it is a convenient tool for you if you don't want to go to another exchange to trade the US market. You can gain exposure to the US indices right here, very much here on SGX securities market. Okay, so this is the US indices. I can share more about it later. And also a very quick one before we go deep dive into the product is right now, Phillip Poems is running a promotion on DLCs. So as to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the DLCs, so you can scan the QR code over here. Basically, if you are new to DLCs, you've not traded in the last 1 year, or you have not traded in the last 1 year, you will be able to be rewarded with $200 cash credit if you place the DLC trades during this promotion period. All right, so just scan this QR code, and then you'll be able to also get access to the promotion page of Phillip, where they highlight what the terms and conditions are for this DLC promotion. All right, so scan the QR code, and you'll be able to, and also, if you're interested in the DLCs, you'll be able to kill two birds with one stone, trade the DLCs, but also get rewarded from this promotion. All right, so last chance to scan. Okay, we'll have it later again for you to see. But otherwise, you can find the promotion on poems.com.sg under the promotions tab. You should be able to see the DLC promotion over there as well. Okay, and basic features. All right, so we did dive into the DLCs right now. So daily leverage certificates. So basic features is actually quite simple, the principle of how DLCs work. Basically, if DBS stock moves up by 2% today, right, from yesterday's close, the DLC will give you that 5 times leverage, that 5 times 10%, sort of times 10, right, times 5, right? So 2% times 5 is 10% gain if you buy the long DLC. But if you had bought the short DLC, then of course your losses are also likewise magnified. Your DBS short DLC will be down by 10%. So every day on a close-to-close basis, the DLC will give you 5 times that of the underlying percentage performance, right? If DBS moves by 1%, the DLCs will move by 5%, right? If DBS moves by 5%, then the DLCs will move by 5 times 5, 25%, all right? So on a close-to-close basis, every day it will give you that 5 times leverage on the underlying stock performance or underlying index performance. Okay, you can see a very simple example here. If DBS up by 2%, $25 jump up to $25.50 on day 2, right? Then the DLC will also jump by 10 times 5, 10%. The long DLC will gain by 10% from its previous close to give you that 10% gain, that 5 times multiplier. But at the same time, the 5 times short DBS DLC will decline in value by 10% because the direction is wrong. But instead, if DBS was down by 2% on day 2, right, drops from $25 down to $24.50, for example, then the DBS short DLC will gain by 10%, and the 5 times long DBS DLC would decline in value by 10%. All right. So if you are bullish on the underlying stock, you buy the long DLC. Okay. If you are bearish on the underlying stock, you think that your price will correct, then you will buy the short DLC to capitalize on that trend. Okay. So no matter what it is, you are always buying something. You either buy a long DLC or you buy a short DLC. All right. Please do not go and short sell any stock or any DLC per se, because you will end up in the buying market and then we will kind of rescue you. So whatever it is, if you want to get open a sort of like a position, it is to buy a long DLC or you either buy a short DLC depending on your view of the underlying stock or asset. All right. Okay, so over here, the DLCs are priced around, I would say 20 cents to around $1 plus. Okay, so over here you can see that the 10-cent DLC, for example, that we have, DIHW, 10-cent 5 times long DLC. Just very quick one, from the name itself, you can tell a lot of the details of the this DLC is about. So the stock code over here is DIHW. So if you key into your Poems account, you can key in DIHW. you will be able to retrieve this Tencent 5 times long DLC, all right? And then in the name itself, Tencent 5 times long SG231214, right? So the underlying asset is in the front of the name, is called Tencent. So this DLC gives you exposure to Tencent stock, okay? And then the 5 times is the leverage factor. For all the single stock DLCs, the leverage is always 5 times. But for the index DLCs, there are 5 times and 7 times DLCs as well. So you can choose, all right? And then the next thing is the long, right? The long or short. So you can either choose a long DLC or you can choose a short DLC, right? It's stated in the name over there. If you're bullish on the underlying stock, you buy the long DLC. If you're bearish on the underlying stock, you buy the short DLC, all right? Then the SG stands for Societe Generale. We are the issuer and we are the leading issuer of the DLCs. We were first to introduce it 5 years ago on SGX securities market. So SG stands for Societe Generale. We are the issuer of this product. And the last 6 digit over there is the expiry date in year, month, date format. All right. So the expiry date is all the DLCs do have an expiry date and they're usually long dated, either 2 years or 3 years expiry. So you don't have to worry too much about the expiry. And in any case, even if you buy the DLCs very close to expiry, you will just be cash settled on the expiry date using whatever the value of the DLC is at the point in time, and you'll be cash settled through CDP to you guys. So the expiry date is not something that you should be too worried about, okay? The main principle of DLCs is that on a day-to-day basis, every day, all the way until expiry, it will give you that 5 times performance on a day-to-day basis, close-to-close basis of the underlying stock performance. And you can see over here, Tencent, right? So on this particular day, for example, on 11 January, just an example, the Tencent stock is up by 1.54%. At this point in time, I think it was at 130 on 11 Jan this year, right? It was up by 1.54%. And the Tencent DLC is up by close to 5 times that, around 9% of the underlying stock. All right. So the Tencent price is over here. It's priced, it's around $1 plus compared to the Tencent stock. So there is the price difference. Okay, so it's priced around $1 plus. So it's up about 9+% from its previous close of $1.36 over there, last intrinsic close. Sorry, it's hidden behind the arrow over there. But you can see that the last intrinsic close is $1.36. So every day on a close-to-close basis, this Tencent DLC will give you that 5 times performance of the underlying stock performance. All right. All right. So this is where you can see that 5 times performance is. Similarly, on the short DLC, you can see that the short DLC is also down by close to 5 times that of the underlying stock, right? So that is where the 5 times performance is on a close-to-close basis for the DLCs, right? So you have to look at the underlying stock. So you perform your technical analysis, you perform your view or your draw lines on the underlying stock itself, Tencent stock itself. But then you execute your trade on the DLCs. You buy or you buy a long or you buy a short DLCs to express your view. All right. Okay. So and then after that you will have to buy this. You would have to look at our website, which I'll share later. You look at our website for this page itself. You can look at the terms. It'll be good to look at where our bid and ask price are. You see over there SG bid, SG ask. So that's where Societe Generale, us as a designated market maker, we are also providing bid and offer codes throughout the day for you to buy or sell. So you should look at this SGB and SGRs as well. So you see over here, SGRs is 1.28. So you would look at this 1.28 and then you will, okay, if you're gonna buy now, you will go to your Poems account, look for this Tencent DLC, DKCW, and then you key in your buy order for at 1.28, or you can also key in at 1.27 if you think you want to wait a bit for Tencent to, gain a bit more so the DLC value will go down a bit more. You can key in your order at 1.27 or 1.28, all right, to buy the DLC. Okay, and then this DLC will give you that 5 times performance on a close-to-close basis of the underlying stock. If tomorrow Tencent stock drops by, drops by 1%, right, then this DLC would gain in value, right? Because it's a short DLC, it would gain in value compared to its previous close by 5%. All right. Okay, so this is where the 5 times performance is. Every day, the DLC will give you that 5 times performance of the underlying stock performance. Okay, so what can you use DLCs for, right? So as I mentioned, these DLCs are leverage products. And also these are short-term trading instruments, all right? So it allows you to trade both sides of the market, both bull and bear markets, and it gives you that 5 times leverage. And also, so these are short-term trading instruments. which allows you to, maybe you can do an intraday trade per se. You can do a swing trade for maybe 1 or 2 weeks per se, or you can use it to hedge your, investment portfolio for a short period of time. But generally, we see people trading intraday, we see people holding it for maybe a week or two. But we do not recommend that you buy and hold this product for long term. Okay, please do not go and buy these DLCs and hold it for months at end or even a year. Okay, so these DLCs are designed to perform on a short-term basis. They are meant for short-term trading. So if you have a short-term view of a few days or maybe 1 or 2 weeks of the underlying stock, you can use this DLC to maximize your potential return. All right. Okay, but definitely if you are looking to buy and hold this for a few years or for your investment portfolio, we will recommend that you go and buy the underlying stock itself, okay, and not use this leverage trading instrument for a long-term basis. Okay, so this you can use it for the intraday trading. You can use it for swing trading, or you can use it for hedging purposes. All right. So example of day trading over here. On an intraday basis, Meituan rose by 2.6% from within a 1.5 hour period in the morning on this particular day on 25th June last year. So the DZHW, the 5 times long Meituan DLC, rose by 14.5% over here. All right. So it gives you approximately 5 times the performance on a close-to-close basis. And so if you have bought the Meituan DLC at around 55 cents on 10 a.m. in the morning, the price of the DLC would have increased in line with the underlying stock all the way to about 62 cents at 11:30 a.m. in line with the underlying stock movement, and that would be represent a 14.5% gain on your DZHW that you bought at 10 a.m. All right. And then also on the swing trading on a bit of a longer term basis from 25th Feb to 30th April last year. So UOB was up by 9% within this period of approximately 1 month. Okay. And then DDWW, the 5 times long UOB DLC, DDWW was up by 48% in that same period of 1 month. Okay. All right. So 1 month is really stretching it in terms of how long you should hold the DLC for. But I think that is sort of, I would say, really quite a maximum that you should be holding a DLC for. Please do not hold it for months at end or even a year. Okay. And then also on the hedging purposes, sometimes you might hold a big bag of Tencent stock that you want to hold for long-term investment, but you see a short-term correction in the Tencent stock, and you want to hedge yourself, or you want to be able to, make some gains on this view that you have, short-term view that you have, to offset your potential losses on your investment portfolio. You can use the Tencent short DLC. In this case, DIMW, the Tencent short DLC, was up by 209% between the 1 month period of 2nd July to 28th July, when Tencent was down by 24% the same period. All right. So that one gives you more than that 5 times performance. And that's because of the compounding effect, which we will also share a bit more later on in the next few slides. So 25% times 5 is about 125%, right? But you see that DMIW was up by 200%. So the extra 75% gain, where they come from, right? It is from the compounding effect, which is a unique feature of the DLCs. And that can give you extra kicker in a very strong trending market, all right? So in this case here, the principle is that, the idea is that you can use this short DLCs to hit some of your long-term investment portfolios if you think that there's going to be a short-term correction in the underlying stock or asset, all right? Okay, so the beauty of DLCs, long and short, you can trade both sides of the market. But we also think that the DLCs are really optimal or really suitable for you to, more efficient to trade the Hong Kong underlying stocks. All right, so right now, if you want to trade, get exposure to Tencent stock, or you want to get exposure to Alibaba stock listed on the Hong Kong Exchange, you would have to, trade on the Hong Kong Exchange itself. You have to change your Singapore dollars to Hong Kong dollars, and then you can buy the stocks listed on the Hong Kong Exchange, right? So if you do, it's troublesome if you don't want for a short-term trade, like a 1 week trade or a 2 week trade. You don't want to have the hassle of exchanging your money from SGD to Hong Kong dollars. You can use the DLCs to gain exposure to Tencent or Alibaba using the DLCs, and you can buy it using your Singapore dollars, right? So that is one efficient way that you can, make a short-term trade without having to have the hassle of changing your money from Hong Kong dollars or Singapore dollars to Hong Kong dollars and then back again to Singapore dollars. All right. And also the beauty of it also is you use less capital to gain exposure to this Tencent stock or Alibaba stock using the DLCs, right? For example, right now, if you want to buy like the minimum investment amount to gain exposure to Tencent stock, I think would be around $7,000 or $8,000 Singapore dollars, or $7,000 or $6,000, right, depending on Hong Kong on Tencent stock price. So $7,000 might not be something that you are willing to put in at one shot to gain exposure to Tencent stock. For example, you might want to only put in $2,000 or $1,000, or you want to do it in tranches, right? You might not want to do it all at one shot to put in 7,000 lump sum. But for Tencent stock listed on Hong Kong Exchange, the minimum lot size is 100, and then times by the Tencent stock price. Over here, you can see the minimum investment sum is around $8,000, depending on Tencent stock price, right? But if you want to put in a smaller amount, or if you want to do it in tranches, you can use the DLCs in smaller investment sums, right? The Tencent DLC, the price is around 150, right? So you can buy the DLCs in lot sizes of 100, same as the stock's minimum bought lot size is about 100 units. So 100 units times by 150, you can put it in increments of $152. So that's the minimum investment sum to invest or to buy the Tencent DLCs, DIHW. Okay. So, but of course, you might want to put in $150 because you take into account your broker commissions, etc. But you can put in amounts of $1,000 or $2,000 just to get exposure to Tencent stock. And you could also do it in terms of increments, right? You can spread your 7K or 8K into batches of $2,000, 4 batches of $2,000, and you can spread it over time, right? You can buy one batch today, and buy another batch next week, and then after that, so on and so forth. All right. So that is the beauty of the DLCs, and also because of it's traded on SGX securities market and not on Hong Kong Exchange market, you will save some of the exchange fees. You will save some of the, you don't have to pay that stamp duty, etc. And also, by using a lower capital amount, $1,000 or $2,000, don't forget that it's times 5. So if you put in $2,000, you're actually getting times 5. So that's $10,000 exposure to Tencent stock, for example, right? Equivalent notional exposure. But you only put in $2,000, right? And then you are charged the commissions and exchange fees, etc., transaction costs on that $2,000, which means that you are also saving quite a bit of transaction costs by using the DLCs instead of actually going to buy the Hong Kong stock itself. All right. So this is a few of the benefits of using DLCs to access a Hong Kong underlying stock, compared to actually going into the Hong Kong Exchange and buying the stock itself. And all right, and you also trade within the sort of space of the SGX securities market, where everything is regulated by the SGX regulation. You might be familiar with it, and so you know how they are, rather than go take on some of the exchange risks that you don't know how Hong Kong Exchange might do some of the regulatory practices, etc. So definitely the Hong Kong underlyings, if you're looking to trade the Hong Kong underlyings, the DLCs present quite a very interesting and attractive proposition, especially if you're looking for a short-term trade on the Hong Kong underlying stocks. Like I said, if you're looking to buy Tencent stock, or rather have exposure to Tencent for the long term as an investment portfolio, holding it for years at end, we would recommend that you go and buy the stock itself on Hong Kong Exchange. These DLCs are for short-term trading only, and it is very efficient for you if you're looking at a short-term trade on the Hong Kong stocks itself. All right. Okay, so the compounding effect is what I mentioned just now. All right, so this compounding effect is a unique feature of the DLCs, and it's important that you understand how it works. Okay, the compounding effect is a double-edged sword. All right, so it also works for you, but it also can work against you, similar to how leverage is, right? Leverage can work for you or it can work against you. In the compounding effect, you can see that every day the DLCs give you that 5 times performance on a close-to-close basis. All right, so it works very well for you in a strong trending market, but in a sideways market or a very volatile market, the compounding effect will not work for you in that sense. Okay, and let's look at an example over here to see what I mean by why it can work for you and but it also can work against you. All right, in a strong trending market, like in this example on the left table here, you can see day 1, day 2, day 3. For example, the underlying stock is gains by 1% on day 1, by 2% on day 2, and another 2% on day 3. Total is up by about 5%, right, across the 3 days. But the DLC is up, and the DLC is up by 27%. Every day it gives you that times 5%, 10%, and another 10% on a close-to-close basis. By the end of the 3 days, it actually gives you a total return of 27%, all right? So 5% times 5 is 25%, right? How come this DLC gives you that extra 2% over there, the 27%? This is because of the compounding effect. Every day your gains and losses are locked in. And so the next day on day 2, your 10% is off a higher base. And on day three, your 10% gain is again off a higher base of $2.89. All right, so there is the compounding effect that can work for you in a strong trending market. You can potentially get more returns, more than 5 times returns if the stock is trending up very nicely. Okay, but in a sideways market, like the table on the right over here, you can see the underlying stock is plus 2% on day 1. Day 2 is minus 4%. And then on day 3 is plus 7%, right? It goes back again to 5%. But you can see that the DLC over here, every day it gives you that 5 times performance, 2% times 5, 10%, minus 4% times 5, minus 20%, plus 7 times 5 is plus 37%. At the end of the 5 days, it only gives you a 20% return, all right? Compared to, 5 times 5 is 25%, right? But it only gives you a 20% return. So you lost out on that 5% because of this compounding effect, all right? So in a sideways market where it goes down, goes up, goes down, then goes back up again, you will potentially make less than 5 times that return, that expected return, okay? So if you hold it for more than a day. So be aware of how this compounding effect works. It is suitable for you in terms of like you should have some form of view of the trend of the underlying stock, okay? And you should see that you have some conviction in terms of whether is it trending up or is it trending down. But if you think it's going to go sideways or a very small range itself, then the DLC definitely it might not work as well for you if it ends up in a sideways market. Okay. So just some examples here of positive compounding return. Again, over here the JD was up by 7.86% across 7 trading days. Times 5 is about 40%. But then you can see here DKCW, the 5 times long DLC was up by about 43%. The extra 3 or 4% gain due to the compounding effect. And in the volatile market, you can see, especially over a longer period of time, markets don't always go up in one direction. Over a longer period of time, it might go up and then come back down, and so it might go sideways in terms of a longer period of time, right? Mean reversion could be one of the reasons, etc. So across the 35 trading days, even though Xiaomi was up by 9%, right, over this 35-day trading period, but 9% times 5 is 45%. But the DFQW only generated about 30% return over here. All right, so this is because of the compounding during a volatile market. It does not work as well for you in a sideways market. Okay, so that is the compounding effect. And just moving on, so that's a key feature that you have to know about DLCs. Other than the fact that on a coast-to-coast basis, every day you give that 5 times performance. All right, DBS up by 1%. Next day, DLC, the 5 times long DLC will be up by 5%. And then the short DLC will be down by 5%, right? If DBS is up by 1% today. Okay, that is a key principle of DLCs on a coast-to-coast basis. But more over a period of time of longer than one trading day, the compounding effect will come into play. And so you should be aware of how the compounding effect can work for you or against you. And so you should have some form of conviction in terms of the trend. If you think that it's going to go sideways already and you don't think that your trade doesn't pan out as well, please exercise discipline and cut your losses and exit the trade if you think that the market is not going as you expect. All right, so do not hold this for a long period of time. The DLCs are for short-term trading. Okay, so those are the 2 key principles how the DLCs will work on the intraday basis, and then over a course of a period of time, there is the compounding effect that would take place. All right, besides that, there are some things like cost and fees and airbag that you should take note of. Okay, so in terms of the cost and fees, if you trade it intraday, you are not charged any fees on the product itself, right? You just use your regular brokerage commissions and exchange fees that we take into account. But if you buy in the morning and you sell in the afternoon before the market close, you will not be charged any sort of fees by SocGen on the product. Okay, you only be charged your broker commission and exchange fees over here. And the trading fees and clearing fees are even cheaper than the stock trading fees. By SGX, we are 8 times cheaper on the DLCs compared to your normal stocks. Normal stocks, if you trade DBS or you trade UOB stocks itself, your exchange fees is 0.04%, whereas for the DLCs, your fees are at 0.005%. So that's 8 times cheaper. on the by trading the DLCs, DBS DLCs versus trading DBS stock. Okay, and then your brokerage commissions, it depends on what your commissions are for POEMs, if you use POEMs. But of course, if you trade it for the first time, the DLCs, you can get a 200 crash credit that can use to offset your brokerage fees. All right. So how does SocGen actually charge the fees? So we charge it if you hold the position overnight, but also intraday, there'll be the bid and ask spread that you would be charged. How does SocGen make money? We make money based on the bid and ask spread that is charged when you buy and sell the DLCs, but also on overnight fees. All right. So if you hold the DLCs for overnight or over a period of time, there are overnight fees that are charged. So if you trade it for a holding period of maybe 1 or 2 days, I would say that the overnight costs and fees are really quite insignificant. And these fees are priced into the product itself. So every day we'll publish an intrinsic close value that is displayed on the SocGen website itself. I'll show you guys again later. And this cost and intrinsic close value already incorporates this overnight cost and fees that is deducted. Okay, it's deducted from the price of the product. It is not charged to you separately, etc. It is already deducted in the price of the DLC itself. Okay, you can see over here, one example is, the daily charge is 0.006 value, the dollar value of from the Tencent DLC for this DBS DLC for one night charge. All right, so 0.038% for one night charge. Okay, so if you hold it for 1 or 2 days, I would say that the fees are quite insignificant. But if you do hold the DLCs over a period of time, these costs can add up. All right, so these overnight fees can add up. That's one of the reasons why I also highlighted, or I stressed, that these DLCs are not meant to be held for long term. It is only meant to be traded on a short term basis, because if you hold it for a year, just a ballpark figure, every DLC would have, depending on the underlying asset, would have a different sort of cost and fee number. But ballpark, you could be looking at 10 to 15% per annum if you hold of cost and fees, if you hold the DLC for a whole year. All right, so that really erodes your returns, and so the DLCs are not meant to be traded for a bought and held for a long period of time. Okay, and then also the airbag mechanism is something that is built into every single DLC. It's something that you should know, but you should not be too worried about, as this airbag does not trigger. It's not meant to be triggered too often. All right, so it's only meant to be in extreme market conditions. The airbag mechanism is meant to reduce your exposure when there's an adverse movement on the underlying stock. And the airbag will only be triggered on the DLCs that go against your direction. For example, if you buy the long DLC, on the long DLC, if the underlying stock goes down, right? If DBS stock goes down, then the DBS long DLC, the airbag will be triggered. But the DBS short DLC will not have any airbag trigger. In fact, you will just, if the DBS stock is up by 20%, it's down by 20%, right? Tanked by 20%, your short DLC will be up by 100%. There'll be no airbag trigger on that. Whereas for the long DLC, your airbag will be triggered. And vice versa, if the DBS stock goes up by 20%, right, or 15% per se, that's the airbag trigger for the stocks. If DBS goes up by 15%, then the long DLC will not have any airbag trigger. It will go up by 15 times 5, 75% gain, whereas the short DLC would have the airbag trigger, because that goes against the direction of the underlying stock goes against the direction of the DLC. Okay, so it can only be triggered when it's going against your direction, in a sense. Okay, you'll never be your upside is never kept. Your upside gain is never kept if you got the right direction. But if you got the wrong direction, then there is an airbag trigger there to reduce the exposure of your DLC when the airbag is triggered. Okay, and the stock, every single DLC will have an inbuilt airbag trigger, and also across indices, 5 times and 7 times leverage, the trigger is on a 10% move on the underlying index itself. Whereas for the stock DLC at 5 times leverage, the underlying stock airbag trigger level is at 15%. So if Tencent stock or DBS stock, the underlying asset moves by 15%, then the airbag will be triggered depending on whether Tencent goes up or goes down by 15%. Okay, so when this airbag is triggered, there'll be a suspension for 30 minutes where the reset will happen, an intraday reset will happen, and then a new observed level will be determined in the first 15 minutes. And then thereafter, the performance of the DLC will be based on this new observed level. So you can see that, like if the value of the DLC, if the underlying stock keeps dropping, all right, and then an airbag trigger on the long DLC, you will see that and then there is a reset, intraday reset, you will see that the long DLC will just keep going down like that, but you'll never reach 0 per se. All right. So the airbag mechanism is meant to reduce your exposure on the underlying stock. And so also to prevent a knockout event where, try to prevent a knockout event where, your DLC goes to 0 value. Okay. So this airbag mechanism is in every DLC, and we will also make the necessary announcement on our website and on SGX website whenever such an airbag trigger event happens. Okay. And lastly, how does DLC compare to other leverage products out there? So I'll try to be a bit of an objective view over here, right? So DLCs, there are other leverage products out there such as CFDs or buying stock on margin, or even like structured warrants that offer you the same exposure to some of the common underlyings like DPS or UOB. So compared to CFDs itself, just a very quick comparison to CFDs, DLC and CFDs are quite different in their as a product as a whole. DLC is listed and traded on SGX securities market, whereas CFDs is not. CFDs are an OTC product. You will have to probably open a separate account, a separate margin account to trade the CFDs, whereas DLCs you trade it through your regular stock brokerage account. All right, your regular POEMs account. Right, so like I mentioned, DLCs are not margin product, whereas CFDs are. So in that case, DLCs are also, you don't have to risk any margin call. If you put in $2,000, that is the maximum you will lose. You buy $2,000 worth of Tencent long DLC, even if Tencent tanks and drops like crazy, the most you can lose is $2,000 on your DLC. All right, you will never get a margin call for that, and you will never lose more than whatever that you have put into the DLCs. All right, so your maximum loss is capped at your initial capital. Whereas for margin products, there's always the risk that you could get a margin call to top up in order to maintain your position on the CFDs. Okay, but so in terms of DLC versus CFDs, they're both leverage products, similar in a sense. Okay, but they are quite different in terms of how they are set up as a product. All right, so DLCs, one benefit of using the DLCs over the CFDs is, of course, lower commissions. All right, so if you trade the DLC, if you remember what I said just now, you put in $2,000, you get exposure up to times 5, $10,000 worth of Tencent stock. So you get exposure worth of $10,000 to Tencent by putting in $2,000 on the DLC, on the long 5 times long Tencent DLC. All right, but you are charged commission based on that $2,000 only. All right, and also exchange fees, you're all charged on that $2,000. Whereas on CFDs, take note that if you trade the CFDs, your commissions are charged based on the total notional exposure. Even though you bring $2,000 worth of margin into the CFDs to trade up to $10,000 exposure of Tencent, you are charged commissions based on that $10,000 exposure. So in fact, DLCs do have cheaper commission, 5 times cheaper commission if you compare apples to apples with the CFDs. But of course, on the other flip side, they are different products. DLC has that compounding effect, which you should be very familiar with on how the compounding effect works, whereas CFDs, there is no compounding effect that is apparent in their product. Okay, so the compounding effect is unique to the DLCs. Okay, so this is a very quick comparison of some of the products out there, but you can find more information on our website, dlc.sociegen.com. And I'm rushing through this a bit also because I want to just show you guys the website, because you can find a lot of information there and a lot more practical information, which I wanted to show you as well. Okay, so I'll transition now into our website. Just want to show you what our website is like for our SocGen DLC website. So you can come here, dlc.sociegen.com over here. So this is our website. Okay, you can find our website here, dlc.sociegen.com, and then you can look at some of the things such as the top gainers and top losers, underlying watch. But let me start, okay, just by going through an investor sort of like a mindset. Okay, so if you're looking to buy an Alibaba stock, for example, right? If you want to get exposure to Alibaba stock, and you have a short-term view of it, you want to trade it for maybe a 2-week horizon. You think Alibaba would say go up in the next 2 weeks, for example, right? So how will you go about choosing your DLCs? How will you go about finding out about DLCs, right? So if I go to products there, I go to search, all right? And then I click over here to see choose Alibaba over here, okay? I hope you guys are able to see this screen. Okay. Then you can see Alibaba stock over here. So you search for underlying Alibaba. Okay, we have 6 DLCs over here on Alibaba stock. And then maybe I just sort it by long and short DLCs. So remember, if you are bullish on the underlying on the Alibaba stock, you will buy the long DLC, right? If you are bearish on Alibaba stock, you think you're correct, then you buy the short DLC. Okay, so you have 6 long Alibaba DLCs right over here, right? So why are there like so many DLCs, right? Right. So some of the DLCs, they might have dropped to a very low value. So for example, you see over here, some of them are at 0.08, 0.006, 0.001, for example, maybe because Alibaba has been quite a downtrend. So the long DLCs have suffered. But then there is one over here, Alibaba long DLC DKCW. Okay, so this is we put a star indicator here, just to help investors to easily see which Alibaba DLC should they choose if they are actually bullish on Alibaba and want to get an exposure. This star over here shows you the most sensitive DLC. So this most sensitive for the long DLC is DKCW. Okay, it is priced at about 34 or 35 cents, around 34 cents. All right, so you can choose this DLC to gain exposure to the Alibaba stock if you want to ride on the uptrend on Alibaba. But if you are bearish on it, you can choose this DLC over here, Alibaba short DAGW. This is a stock code, so you can key in DAGW into your opponent's account and be able to retrieve these DLCs, and you can enter your price, your orders, your buy or sell orders. Okay, this DLC is priced higher at $2.66, primarily because I think Alibaba has been going down, right? So the short DLC has been gaining in value every day as Alibaba stock falls. All right. So let's look at the example again. If you want to long Alibaba, right? So you look at DKCW. All right. You can see over here the bid and ask over here. Of course, now it's aftermarket, but our last bid and ask is around here, 34 cents and 35 cents on the bid and ask. If you are looking to buy, you will look at this 35 cents over here. If you're looking to sell back to us, if you already have a position, then you look at this 34 cents over here. All right, so every day we'll publish this intrinsic close value, 33 cents. So today's intrinsic close for this DLC DKCW is at 33.4 cents, all right? So the next day, if Alibaba goes up by 1%, right, then the long DLC DKCW will gain by 5%, right? So this 5% will be based on this 0.334 value over here. Okay, this is the intrinsic close for 20th April. Okay, so 0.334, right? So tomorrow, if Alibaba is up by 1%, this DLC should be up by 5%. So 0.05, okay, 1.05 times by 0.334, then you will see that the DLC over here, Societe Generale will be around 35 cents, all right? So 35 cents minus 33.4 cents is a 5% gain, okay? So you can see over here how it works in terms of the price of the DLC. And then for you to later onward go into your opponent's account to key in your order. Okay, so very useful. Please use this website to look for your DLC and use it to also see all the static information about the DLC. If you see that outstanding quantity here is at 100%, which means that we are sold out already on this DLC. All right, so you should not buy, we will not be able to provide the ask over here. We will not be selling anymore, but we continue to provide the bid over here for people to sell back to us. All right, so if there is a finite quantity that we can sell, so once you see there's 100% outstanding here, which means that we can't sell anymore and you can't buy any more of these DLCs, but you can sell back to us. Okay, this one, the outstanding quantity is 0.75%. So it's safe. You can buy this DLC over here. And as I mentioned, you can refer to our price matrix over here to see, okay, so as I mentioned, if the closing value for today is 0.334, right? And Alibaba closed at 90.7 Hong Kong dollars as well. If tomorrow Alibaba goes up by around 2% tomorrow, so it goes up from $90.7 to 92.7 Hong Kong dollars, that's a 2.2% gain. The DLC from 0.334, it will gain in value. Our bid and ask would go up to around 37 cents over here. Okay, so you can then that represents a gain of about 11%. That is 5 times that of the underlying stock movement. All right, but instead, if Alibaba stock goes down by 2% tomorrow, it goes down to $88.70 Hong Kong dollars. Then the DLC value will also drop to 29.7 cents. Right, it will drop here, and then that represents a loss of a decline in value of minus 11%. That's 5 times that of the underlying stock. So you can use this price matrix to see, for a given movement in the underlying stock, where will my DLC value be and where will be our corresponding SocGen's bid and ask will be for this DLC, all right? So that is a very useful one, the price matrix, for you to see how it works, okay? And so just going back to this example over here on Alibaba. So you see there's many underlying stocks for you to choose from over here. Okay, so many long DLCs and one short DLCs, right? So the star indicator, if anything you're in doubt, just look at the star indicator for you to choose, which DLC should you use to gain a long exposure to Alibaba. But if I could just, try to answer the question of some people might ask, like, okay, so why is it like does it mean that some of these DLCs do not provide that 5 times movement? That's wrong. All the DLCs, long DLCs, will provide that 5 times movement of the underlying stock performance, and because they are all still 5 times long Alibaba DLCs, right? There is no difference to them, and the expiry date doesn't matter. In terms of how it moves, it moves 5 times that of the underlying stock. So the difference is the sensitivity. All right, when a DLC falls to a very low value, like 0.0008 or 0.006, the sensitivity of the DLC would be drastically reduced. Right, it will take a large movement in the underlying stock for this DLC to move 1 tick. That's because the 1 tick of 0.001 of the underlying of the DLC is very large, right? So for it to move 1 tick, 0.001 to 0.002, that's 100% gain, right? So that 100% gain divided by 5 is 20% gain on the underlying stock. So Alibaba has to move 20% for this DLC to even move 1 tick. That's why these DLCs, we definitely do not recommend that you trade the very low price DLCs. Please try to trade those that are above 20 cents at least. So 30 cents is good, or even better, $2 is good, because these are the sensitive DLCs. When I mean by sensitivity over here, you can see over here, for this DLC DKCW, it only requires a $0.26 move. So 26 cents move in Alibaba stock price of $90.70. If it moves from $90.70 to $91, 30-cent move, you will see that the Alibaba long DLC will move by 1 tick. All right, it will move by 1 tick. So that's 0.005. You move from 0.340 to 0.345, 0.355 be us, right? Okay. And then also that's why we meant that it's very sensitive, but it will still provide that 5 times movement on a close-to-close basis, regardless of whether is it a low price DLC or a high price DLC. All right, but please try to trade those that are at least above 20 cents. This one is still okay, 0.043 dVIW. The sensitivity is 50 cents move in a Hong Kong stock. Alibaba stock would move 1 tick on the DLC, and this over here 1 tick is 0.001. So SGX has different minimum bid schedules. So you have to also reference that itself. This one will move by 1 tick from 0.0043 to 0.0044 if the underlying Alibaba stock moves by 50 cents. For every 50 cents, it will move by 1 tick on the DLC. Okay, so sensitivity is something that maybe intraday traders are very acute to. They want to be very as sensitive as possible because they might do an intraday trade and they want the most number of ticks. But then for a few days traders, or like a horizon of a few 1 or 2 weeks, you don't have to be exactly the most sensitive ones. But of course, if you can, please just choose the most sensitive one. And this star helps you to identify which is the most sensitive Alibaba long DLC. Okay, and some of you might have noticed that what's this watch this function over here is something that we just launched recently as well. If I want to add this to Alibaba long DLCs, and then I want to also trade BYD DLCs, right? I will click this BYD DLCs to add it to my watch list. And then if I come to my watch list over here, I can see that it's saved over here, all right? So a pretty nifty function for you to go to just save the DLCs that you like and be able to trade it, all right? And just a very quick note here, you can see that this Alibaba long DLC is 100% sold out of standing quantity. So in this case, we will not be providing the ask anymore. we only provide the bid for you to sell back. All right. And so if you're long Alibaba DLC, you would want to look at this DLC DKCW instead. All right. Okay. So that is what I have for the just as how to select the DLCs or how to find more information on the DLCs. Most of the information that you need to find are on this terms page itself. You can also refer to our listing documents over here for you to be able to read more in depth into the specific terms of this DLC and also the product features. All right. So this is a very useful page. And also under our education tab, you can find more information about what I just briefly shared with you over the last 1 hour. How does DLC work? What is the compounding effect? How does the airbag mechanism work? You can find more detailed information here for you to read up on. Okay, and also over the last tab over here under markets, we hope to bring more insights for people, for investors out there to see what has the DLC fund flow been like, what have been people buying and selling over the last 5 trading days on the long DLC. Okay, so you can see maybe on the long DLC over here, more outflow, people have been selling back the UOB and OCBC long DLCs. People are buying the long DBS DLCs and the long Meituan DLCs over here. So the fund flow is something that you can, just get some insights as to what people are buying and selling on the DLCs. But also you can see on the underlying stock itself, we share some of the top gainers and losers of the underlying stocks and their relevant DLCs. This is on the underlying stock itself in terms of the top 10 turnover change based on the underlying stock, not on the DLC. Okay, and also southbound stock connect fund flow, and as well as Singapore fund flows that we that SGX publishes, and we just put it in a nicer format for you to see over the last 3 weeks. How has the fund flows been like for Insti or for retail, for example? You can refer to our website here to explore. So let us know also if you have any feedback on any kind of insights that you wish to see on the DLCs. I mean, we also try to do the long short ratio. So over here, the position over here for DBS, 63% are long the DBS, whereas some are short, the 36% are short the DBS DLCs. So 60% of the outstanding quantity are on the long DLC and 40% are on the short DBS DLCs. All right. So that gives you a bit of insights into, what are people buying and selling, or what people are holding as well. Okay. But as usual, if you have any feedback or any questions on how the DLC works, or even how do you even select the DLCs under our search page itself, please, very important is this number over here, our DLC hotline, 62262828. So my team and I, we are on standby to answer any of the questions that you have on the DLCs, whether it's related to the codes that you see on the DLC, or whether is it like a product features on the DLC, or any explanation on the market insights that you can see here on our website. Any questions that you have at all, please feel free to call us. We'll be happy to answer any of your queries. So do not hesitate to call us. If you do not want to, if you're a bit shy to talk to us, you can always contact us also using our by emailing us here at dlc@societe.com. You can use this form here for you to be able to put in your comments over here, and it'll be come to us into our mailbox, and then we will reply to you as soon as we can. All right. But in any case, yes, and then you can see also there are, the homepage will give you the latest listings of what latest DLC listings are there, as well as the POEMS promotion over here for you to refer to. And also under the news page, you can see our US equity indices page, where you can find out more about what I shared just now, our new launch, S&P 500 DLCs. And coming soon will also be NASDAQ DLCs as well, NASDAQ 100 long and short DLCs. So this is something that is very new for us, and I think it would be quite interesting for people to be able to gain exposure to the US indices during Asian hours, and very much here on SGX securities market, right? You have to go and trade in NYSE, you don't have to trade in NASDAQ. So we really try to bring it to you here on SGX securities market, all these instruments for you to be able to gain a global exposure. Okay, so any questions at all, please give us a call and also write to us. I wanted to end just right on time, and this session will be recorded as well, so you can always play back again. When Philip sort of publishes the video, you can refer to again to recap of what I just shared. Otherwise, also just please feel free to call us at this number over here to answer any of the questions. All right. Maybe I'll try to take 1 or 2 questions. Since we have about 5 minutes left to the end of this session, and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, when you say 14.5%, is it 14.5% of the price of DLC, or is it 14.5% of the underlying instrument? Okay, so I think this 14.5%, I believe, is based on the performance, right? So it is the performance of the price of the DLC, right? So of the price of the DLC. If the underlying stock needs to gain by 3%, okay, underlying stock gains by 3%, then the price of the DLC will gain by 15%. All right. So that's what I meant by the 14.5%. So you can see over here, let's look at HSI short DLC. Like for example, Hang Seng index was down by 0.4%, right, today. Then the DLC was up by 2%, times 5 of that, times 7, times 7. Sorry, the intrinsic value is actually 1.413. So it is up by about, times 7 is about 2.1%, right? Correct. So it's times 7 is 2.8%. So this value, 1.413, is up by about 2.2+%, okay? And then you can also see over here, maybe a bit more volatile one, so we can see what's the exact percentage. Let's see, Tencent short DLC. Okay, yeah, see. So Tencent stock is down by 0.55% today. And so the long DLC is up by, times 5 of that, about 2.5%, right? It's up by 2.5% today. So that's where you can see that 5 times movement every day. And then this is the 2.5% is on the DLC price itself, okay? While the underlying stock 0.55% is on the underlying stock itself. And the commissions part, I think there's a question on commissions. So the commissions part, you need to check with your broker as to what is your brokerage commission. But what I understand, the commission for DLCs is similar to underlying stock commissions, to stock commissions on Singapore stock market. So I think maybe that's 0.1 or 0.2% depending on what account you have. But whatever that applies to stocks when you trade DBS or trade ABC, etc., also applies to the DLCs. All right. But remember that if you want to gain $10,000 exposure to DBS, you only need to put in $2,000 worth of DLCs. You only need to buy $2,000 worth of DLCs, and that commission is charged on at $2,000. So you are in fact paying 5 times cheaper commission. Okay. And just if I hold either long or short DLC more than a week, and close the position, the interest rate charges already reflected on the DLC price itself. If I hold either short or long DLC more than a week, when I close the position, the interest charges already reflected on the DLC price itself, or charged separately like CFDs. So that one, the interest charges are already priced into the DLC, right? So this price over here, 0.305 that we conclude today, this is the intrinsic close of the DLC today for this Tencent DLC DKCW. The cost and fees, the overnight interest charges or overnight funding cost, is already priced into this product over here, okay? Into this value every day, all right? So it is already priced into the DLC price. If tomorrow, the underlying, so this already accounts for it already, okay? And if underlying stock is up or down, what happens when there is no volume of buy or sell, how to trade the DLC, all right? So this one, very important point, okay, guys? It's very important that you, I mean, of course, it looks nice. I mean, if it looks nice that if it's a traded DLC, right? So in terms of like people trade it, right? So you can see over here, 3.5 million traded on the Hang Seng short, 3.4 million traded on the Hang Seng long. Tencent itself, the one that I showed just now, DKCW, Alibaba one, DKCW, 1.1 million traded. So these are the traded value of the underlying of the DLC itself, right? So of course it's nice in terms of you see a large amount of traded value, which is that people are buying and selling this DLC and it's popular, but it's not a true reflection of the liquidity. Okay, so even if let's say you are looking at one of the DLCs that is high, not even traded, for example, say not all the DLCs are actively traded every day, right? So because we have over 200 DLCs, some people that might be trading DBS DLCs today, whereas your A-REIT DLCs, your Ascendant REIT DLC, no one trades it today, for example. But it doesn't mean that you cannot buy and sell this DLC, okay? Because we, as a designated market maker, we are obligated, we are regulated by SGX to provide continuous bid and offer codes throughout the day for you to buy and sell this DLC, all right? So we will be providing quotes 0.049, 0.05 throughout the whole day, even if there is no traded value. Okay, and then we'll probably place some volume on each side, maybe about 100K on each side, but it will be refilled if your position is more than 100K. But we'll be providing volume, bid and ask volume for you to trade or to buy or sell these DLCs throughout the whole day. So you don't have to worry, even if it's not traded during the day at all, or you can still buy and sell these DLCs because we are there to provide that bid and offer volume. Okay, so maybe I just quickly see sgx.com. You can refer to also, you can see over here the DLCs. You can refer to the bid and offer volumes over here. All right, the bid and ask volumes. We will be providing bid and ask volumes and the prices throughout the whole trading day, even if there is no traded. There's no trading activity on the DLC for that day. Okay, so don't worry about that one. Okay, so I think we are close to the end of the time. Maybe I'll answer one last question, just very quickly. What is the max loss if I buy a DLC 5 times short, 1,000 lots of Meituan and it goes the opposite way? Well, okay, so let's look at Meituan 5 times short. Okay, let's look at Meituan. Okay, Meituan. Okay, this is an important point. Okay, so this Meituan short DLC, for example. Okay. Over here. Okay, so if you have bought this Meituan short DLC, right? Okay, if you put in, say, about $2,000, you buy $2,000 divided by, 1,000 lots, right? So you buy 1,000 units times 1.325, right? So that's $1,300, right? You buy $1,300 worth of Meituan short DLC. Your maximum loss is $1,300. You will never lose more than this $1,300, even if Meituan stock, because it's a short DLC, right? So if Meituan stock goes up by 30% or 40% within the day, your maximum loss is still 30% times 5 is 150%, right? But you cannot lose 150% on this. You can only lose 100% on this price. All right. So your max loss is your $1,300 that you put into that. Okay. So that is your maximum loss on the Meituan short DLC. On all the DLCs, your maximum loss is 100% of what you put in. You will never lose more than what you put in. Okay. I hope that answers your question. You will not be asked to top up or anything. It is just whatever that you put in. You put in $2,000, your maximum loss is $2,000. That's it. Okay. All right. I think that sums it up. We are right on time, 1 hour. I wanted to make sure that I meet the 1 hour timing. And I'm sorry I had to speak through some of the stuff, but I hope that you would have a bit of, at least gain some insights on how the product works, what you can use it for, and also some resources, including our website over here, on how you can find out more about the DLCs, how you can select your DLCs, how you can use the price matrix to see how the DLC moves with the underlying stock, to be able to at least get started on your DLC journey. But of course, please read up and understand the features and also the risks as well before you start trading the DLCs. And if any questions at all, like I said, again, please, we are very friendly people. Please do call us on the hotline over here, 622-62828, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. Short 1 hour session. Can't cover everything, but please visit our website, dlc.societe.com, to find out more. And also check out the Phillip promotion on the DLCs, that $200 cash credit that is up for grabs. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and good night.